So let's get real. We've been living for more than a year, and if we're really honest about it, for a lot longer than that, with overbearing federal immigration enforcement. ICE and CBP have expanded far beyond our borders into every community, town, and city in America. We've seen an absolute invasion into our neighborhoods, our workplaces, our schools, our courthouses, and into the public domain. Hundreds of thousands are being detained. People have died in custody and during enforcement actions at the hands of ICE and CBP. And daily life for immigrant families and for people being racially profiled as potentially immigrant is filled with fear. This is not just a flashpoint, it's intentional. This administration wants us to believe that this kind of invasion into every aspect of our lives is a new normal. And here's the thing, unless communities organize effectively against it, that's exactly what it will become. If you're watching the footage coming out of Minneapolis, Chicago, Los Angeles, Charlotte, New York City, and thinking, I know I need to take action where I live, but I'm not sure exactly where to start, that's what this video is here for. Today, I'm going to show you a practical, grounded organizing strategy that meets the political moment of 2026, where authoritarian tactics are starting to become truly entrenched, and where resistance has to be strategic, thoughtful, and designed for the long haul. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Cronise McLaughlin. I've been an activist since I was a teenager. I'm a former human rights and Wall Street attorney, and for the last 15 years, I've been working with accomplished leaders who feel called to make big, progressive change in these incredibly challenging times. If you know that's you, if you know you feel called to make a big difference right now, but you're not sure where to start or how to accomplish your goals, I want to invite you to book a free strategy call with our team at the Ripple Effect Institute below. No strings, it's just designed to get you the strategic help you need to start making an impact right now within your zone of expertise. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear 5-part framework on how to organize effectively in your own community against ICE raids and federal overreach. You'll also know how to map local power and how to tap into it. You'll have a plan to turn your current skills into real strategic leadership in your own community. And you'll have a pathway to build community networks that don't burn out. This isn't about outrage, although there's a lot of that to go around these days. This is about organizing sustainable community power. And if that's why you're here, let's dive in. Lesson 1, ground your work in the current moment. We've been living with expanded federal ICE and CBP enforcement and the mobilization of the National Guard for a year now. This isn't new, but it is the current landscape. And that means our ongoing resistance can't be ad hoc. In order to organize effectively, one thing that you will really need is a clear understanding about how enforcement operates where you live. Is your local law enforcement cooperating with ICE? In some jurisdictions, there are agreements where that is happening, and in others, particularly sanctuary states and cities, there are laws and policies that ban law enforcement from cooperating with ICE to kidnap our neighbors. Understanding how this works where you live is the first step to really understanding how you can respond. In addition to that, you need a strategy for addressing local institutions and laws. How does your city council work, for instance? Are they responsible for making decisions about collaboration? Are there efforts to install a detention center where you live? And is that before your zoning board or your town council? The more information that you can gather about how decision-making works where you live, the faster you'll be able to craft a strategy to help keep your neighbors safe. And lastly, you need a plan for sustained response. In many jurisdictions, this has popped up in the form of rapid response networks that have been organized through community groups, immigration rights defense networks, or even through organizations of parents. Key to organizing effective sustained response is activating networks that already exist. This is critical because when you understand what's happening where you live and who holds the levers of power to change it, you can start to build sustained community power without getting thrown off course by every national headline. This is how we begin to build enduring community power. Lesson 2, Focus local power where it actually matters. So federal ICE enforcement is national, but its impact, as we have seen recently, is hyper-local. We have seen ICE lock down streets and go door to door in Minneapolis. We've seen the tear gassing of local community businesses. We've seen our favorite restaurants invaded and waiters and staff snatched up and deported. And this is one reason why local community power has to be the solution. Again, this is a reason why who's collaborating with federal agents, who's passing local budgets that fund law enforcement or permit the opportunity for detention centers to be built, and also critical questions like who funds local legal defense for people who are being detained? What nonprofits are actually doing this work? These are local and state officials and local and state organizers. And so a part of our resistance has to start with holding local leaders accountable and making sure that the organizations that are doing positive work have the funding that they need. This means, for instance, passing protective legislation, like what has happened in New Jersey recently with the Immigrant Trust Acts. It also means building out robust community defense networks across organizations. This is where real leverage starts to be built. Lesson 3, build collective infrastructure, not lone heroism. Okay, so this is an incredibly key issue. Trying to do the work of resisting federal enforcement actions alone is a fast track to burnout and also completely ineffective. Communities where we have seen real results in pushing back against ICE and CBP are those where we have seen robust rapid response networks built community by community, in some cases, street by street. And those rapid response networks are doing incredible work. They're delivering groceries to people who are afraid to leave their homes. They're making sure that people have legal services when they need them. They're also showing up in the streets to stop ICE from kidnapping neighbors when they have the opportunity to be on the front lines. But it goes beyond that. It goes into ongoing systems of mutual aid for people who are marginalized. It goes into community communication hubs like signal chats or live meetings in people's living rooms. And then there's interfaith and even inter-movement coalitions that are being built across issues and across people who are already organized. Our leadership does not exist in isolation. And if you're wondering how to plug in, the easiest thing to do is to find the organizations that are already on the ground doing this kind of work and ask how you can help. No one person can solve this problem alone, but all of us together can make a huge difference. The work of resistance and pushing back and keeping people safe and building a better future exists in connection and shared purpose. Plug into the people who are doing that work, and you'll be of service as well. Lesson 4, choose a focus and see it through. When communities are under pressure and crises keep coming, the instinct sometimes for those of us who are really compassionate is to try to do it all. That's how movements and our own work will very quickly collapse. Instead, it's really important to pick one area of focus in your own resistance work in this era. Is it street outreach? Is it supporting people who are doing legal defense of immigrants? Is it holding local officials accountable by attending city council meetings? Maybe it's organizing food distribution for your neighbors. Choose one place to be of service and build your strategic capacity there. In the process, you will build relationships of trust with other organizers, and you'll create credibility for the long haul. And credibility, together with connection and community, that builds real power. Lesson 5, turn your skills into lasting power. Now, if you've watched this long in this video, I'm betting that you're not just somebody who cares about what's happening. You're actually someone who is feeling very deeply the crisis of this moment. This is a tremendous opportunity to take the skills and experience that you already have acquired in your life and put them to use to save and protect lives. If you're someone with any kind of experience leading or working with others, and you have skills that you've acquired over the course of your life, I can guarantee you that there is a place right now in resistance movements where those skills are desperately needed. Whether you've led teams, organized volunteers, worked a spreadsheet, written some emails, or maybe just been involved in helping people to figure out the next best strategic move, all of that translates to organizing. And one of the key things I just want to mention here is that not everybody is built to be on the front lines of direct action. But every movement of resistance Every effort right now to protect and save lives needs people behind the scenes who can actually organize and support those who are in the streets. If you know how to run a spreadsheet, maybe you're the person who can organize coordination to get food into the mouths of people who need it. If you're someone who is really good at drafting emails, maybe you can run communication strategy for a rapid response network. If you're somebody who has done any form of volunteer work, you can show up to an organization and ask how you can help to coordinate the people who desperately want to make a difference right now. Because I'll let you in on a little secret. What most people who care deeply about this country are lacking right now is not passion. It's actually structure, strategy, and execution. Finding ways to use your skill sets and your talents right now in furtherance of resistance and supporting your own community is key. And every single talent that you have, every single skill that you have built over your lifetime has a place to fit into this work. Are you a songwriter? You can write protest songs. If you're an artist, you can help to design posters and placards for protests. There is no end to the way in which the power of the people can be used right now in furtherance of justice. And believe me, I've worked with thousands of people who really knew that they wanted to make a difference, but weren't sure if they had it in them. And it has turned out every time that one of the skills, at least, that they've learned over the course of their lives fits perfectly into the needs of an organization that is engaged right now in pushing back. You have a purpose and a reason to be here. Fighting back against the kidnapping of our neighbors and ICE's invasion into communities may be only one place that calls to you, but your skills and your talents are needed. Please don't waste them. So if you've watched this far and you're thinking to yourself, I know I need to make a bigger difference, but I'm really not sure how to do it, or you want to organize and resist in ways that actually work. Or maybe you want to support others who are on the front lines in ways that give them the strategic support that they need, but you're not sure how to do it. Book that free strategy call at the link below and we will help you figure it out. We'll talk through where you are in your social justice work, where you want to go, and how to make it real without burnout, without confusion, and with real momentum. You don't have to organize alone, but you do have to start. And we're here to walk you through it side by side. So here's the biggest takeaway that I want you to have from this video. There is room for all of us in this work. The most important thing, though, is that you don't sit on the sidelines, because what's happening in this country right now is so profoundly dangerous and damaging. Each of us has a moment to decide right now whether or not we will be a part of the solution. And I want to urge you to get involved in whatever way you can with community organizations, the local levers of power where you live, and rapid response if it calls to you. Our neighbors and our communities are counting on us because there's no cavalry coming, and we're the people we've been waiting for. I want to thank all of you who are deeply invested in this work. I want to thank all of you who are tired but are still showing up for your communities. And I want to thank all of you who are compassionate and caring enough to be thinking every day about how you can make a difference and then taking action to follow through on it. We here at the Ripple Effect Institute are here to support everyone who is fighting for justice and freedom and safety and security for all of our neighbors and for everyone in this country. Thank you for all your hard work, and I'll see you in the next video.